You've heard this pitch 1,000 times. Just post content, build your brand, and leads will flow. So you do it. You optimize your headline, you post 3 to 4 times a week, you comment, you engage, you even reply to DMs, and nothing. A few likes, some views, maybe a stray inquiry that ghosts after the first call. You are doing the work, but it's like shouting into the void, and it sucks. And this is where a lot of founders, they start to spiral. You think to yourself, maybe my offer is not really clear, or maybe I'm not niche enough, or maybe I just suck at content. You tweak your bio, you re-record your videos, you switch from carousels to text posts to selfies to storytelling to thought leadership, but the needle just doesn't move. You are exhausted, and worse off, you're embarrassed, because deep down, you know that your service works. You're just invisible. And that was me. That's a lot of people. I built 7-figure brands. I had worked with elite clients. But on LinkedIn, I kind of looked like just another guy with a Canva account and maybe a nice smile sometimes. And I kept asking myself, why is no one seeing the real value that I bring? And the answer, it wasn't in my call to action, it wasn't in my profile photo, and it definitely was not in posting more. The answer was one specific fix, a positioning shift that made everything click. Because once I made it, LinkedIn didn't just become a content platform, it became a quiet client machine. So here's where I'm going to show you exactly the core problem behind most underperforming profiles on LinkedIn, and why no amount of content can fix it until you do. So let's get into this. Here's why your profile is not built to convert high-ticket clients. Let's cut right through all the crap. All right, your LinkedIn profile, it's not a resume, it's a sales page in disguise. And most founders, even smart, accomplished ones, they completely miss this. So instead, their profile, it reads like this: a job history, a list of accolades, a vague value statement, like helping leaders scale with clarity and confidence. What the hell does that mean? It's technically accurate. It's even kind of impressive. But it doesn't really convert because it's not built to. So this is exactly what most people don't realize. High-ticket clients, they are not looking for impressive. They are looking for relevance. Okay? They want to land on your profile and instantly think to themselves, this person understands my world. This person solves my problem. If your profile does not create that snap of recognition in the first 5 seconds, you are likely done. They're not going to read your about section. They're not going to click on your link. They will bounce to someone else who actually gets it faster. So what does a converting profile actually look like? Well, it makes 3 things unmistakably clear. Okay? First, who you work with. Not leaders or entrepreneurs, but a very specific avatar with a very specific pain. Second, the core outcome. Not fluffy benefits, but the concrete transformation that you deliver. Third, why you're the safe choice. What gives you credibility, authority, or lived experience. If any of those are missing, your profile becomes noise, even if your content is great. That was the first fix that I made. I rebuilt my profile like a landing page, because it is. Every word pointed to a very specific client and a very specific problem. And that is when everything started to change. Next, I'm going to break down the exact moment that I realized this, and how one conversation exposed the blind spot that I couldn't see on my own. Okay, this is the call that really exposed my $100,000 mistake. This moment still stings. A few years ago, got on a Zoom call with a founder, and I should have closed this guy easily. He was post-exit. He needed help, building his personal brand. He even said, I've been watching your stuff for a while. Seems like we kind of think the same way. But 20 minutes into the conversation, he paused, and this is what he said. So, what exactly do you do? Ugh, kiss of death. I smiled. I gave him the polished answer. Well, I help founders build magnetic personal brands that attract high leverage opportunities, increase authority, and blah, blah, blah. He cut me off. Okay, but what does that mean? That deal died right there. Okay? What I didn't know was this. I was hiding behind polish, and I was confusing it for clarity. My profile looked clean. My content, it sounded smart, but none of it really helped a high-ticket buyer know what I actually do. They couldn't tell how it would actually change their business or their lives. They couldn't see what problem that I solved, so they moved on. And over the next 6 months or so, I realized something very brutal. That same confusion had quietly cost me well over 100 grand in missed deals. Not because I didn't have the skills, but because I didn't position them in a way that made people feel safe to buy. That call really forced me to build everything. My profile, my offer language, my about section, even my banner. I stopped trying to impress. I started trying to signal safety. Because high-level clients, they don't hire to be clever. They hire you to be clear. Next, I'm going to show you exactly how I restructured my entire positioning with one powerful question, and exactly how it turned my inbox from cold to calmly full. This is the positioning question, okay, that really changed everything. Here we go. It's the single most important question that I've ever asked about my business. What's the moment my dream client realizes they need me? Not what's my niche, not what industry am I in, but this. What situation is someone in when hiring me becomes a no-brainer? That question cracked everything open. All right? For me, the answer wasn't necessarily vague, it was visceral. They exited or scaled the company, and now they're invisible online. They're launching a fund or an advisory firm, but their name, it doesn't really have any weight outside of their old world. They've built something real, but their digital presence kind of makes them look like they're just starting out. And that's when they look for help. They don't want followers. They do not want dopamine. What they want is a brand that reflects their real world success without looking, to try hard or being generic. That's the moment. That's the trigger. So everything I built pointed to that, and that alone. I restructured my profile headline to speak to that exact pain. My banner addressed the transformation that they were going to crave. My about section, it became a mirror where they saw themselves. All right, and most importantly, I stopped trying to sound impressive to every single person out there, and I started sounding deeply relevant to the right few. That's when the quiet clients started to show up. Less chasing, no funnel, just calm inbound interest from people who finally saw themselves in my positioning. That's the fix. It's the thing a lot of people miss. They write bios for themselves, not for the person on the edge of a decision. Next, it's time to show you how this positioning shift made my content 10 times more effective, and how it quietly built trust before I ever said a word. So let's get into this. Here's why trust beats virality, and how I built quiet authority instead. If you are serious about landing high-ticket clients on a platform like LinkedIn, here's what you got to know. You don't need to go viral. You need to become trusted. But most founders, they fall into the same trap. They chase reach. They mimic creators. They post content that gets attention, but not clients. And they wonder why nothing sticks. So, this is the shift that really changed everything for me. I stopped chasing engagement, all right? And I started building what I call quiet authority, okay? Quiet authority, it's not loud, it's not viral, but it's magnetic to the right people, the ones ready to buy. Here's what it looks like. Thoughtful posts that speak directly to high trust pain points. Consistency without the noise. Post on a weekly cadence. All right, you don't have to post every single day. Positioning that makes every post feel like a signal, not just content. No gimmicks, no trends, just calm, confident proof of expertise. Okay? And when you actually combine that with the right profile, that's powerful stuff. It's when things unlock. Content builds trust. Profile converts interest. DMs turn into conversations without needing the funnels or the cold outreach. You don't need 100,000 followers, guys. You need 10 people per month who trust you enough to reach out and ask, can you help me? That's how I built a 6- and 7-figure line of business off of just a few dozen posts. No gimmicks, no hacks, no performance. You just want quiet clarity and deep relevance. Okay? Let's keep going. Now I'm going to walk you through this simple cadence that I follow every single week to stay visible, to stay valuable, and to stay booked, but without burning out or becoming someone I'm not. Let's get into it. This is my weekly LinkedIn system, all right, for calm, consistent client flow. If you are building a high-ticket service business, you do not need to be everywhere all at once. You need to show up the right way, consistently. So here's my exact weekly system that keeps the pipeline full, okay, but without exhausting me or requiring a huge team. First, have a weekly cadence of posting with intent. Okay, I follow a very simple cadence. Monday, I do an authority anchor, proof, case study, credibility. Tuesday is a personal belief, something emotionally resonant. On Wednesday, I'll do something like a thought leadership post, practical insights, or frameworks. On a Thursday, I'm going to do a bold hit, short, punchy content that really cuts through. Friday, I kind of leave up to myself. Each post is crafted with a goal. You want to build trust with the right person. No farming for likes, no fishing for engagement, just strategic signal. Okay? 2, comment on 5 to 10 relevant posts every single day. Every morning I try to comment on high leverage accounts in my niche. All right? Not spam, not fluff, smart, insightful, relationship building comments that get me seen by the right people, their audience. All right? Over time, this is going to compound. I've landed clients just from a comment trail. All right? Number 3, respond to every DM, just like a human. Okay? I don't pitch. I don't drop links. I treat every single message like a relationship, not a transaction. And because my profile and my posts do all the heavy lifting, all right, most DMs, they're not cold. They are warm. Some say things like this: your post really hit me hard. Some people say, can I ask what it looks like to work with you? Right? That's when I move them into a much deeper conversation. Slowly, calmly, respectfully. All right? This is the system. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes a day. No funnels, no ads, no volume game. Just trust, clarity, and consistency. And it works in a long enough period of time. Let's put this all together and show you how to turn your own LinkedIn into a quiet client machine. All right? Starting this week. You don't have to wait. All right? This is your quiet client machine. Here's what to fix first. Let's bring this all home. All right? If you have been posting on LinkedIn and not really seeing results, don't panic. All right? You're not broken. You are not invisible, but your system might actually be. Because LinkedIn only works when 3 things are aligned. First, your profile. It's got to be built for clarity, trust, and conversion. 2, your positioning. Sharpened to speak directly to a specific moment of pain. And 3, your content. Calm, consistent, and designed to build authority with the right people. If any one of those is off, the whole thing is going to underperform. But here's the good news. You don't have to fix it all overnight. All right? Here's exactly what I would recommend. Fix your profile first. Okay, this is the switch that really turns passive viewers into potential buyers. So you really want to make sure that your headline speaks to one person with one pain, that your banner communicates the outcome that you deliver, that your about section really builds trust and it shows lived experience. Your CTA is simple, it's clear, and it's human. Once that's all set, dial in your positioning. Ask yourself, what moment makes someone look for me? Then speak to that in your content, in your copy, and in your DMs. Finally, all right, layer on a simple content rhythm. You could do 4 posts a week, right? 1 hour a day. No pressure to perform. You just want quiet authority here, consistently shown. All right, this is not about being famous. It's about being trusted by the right 10 people. You do this well, and you will wake up to DMs that actually feel like conversations, not just cold outreach. You will see clients come in without chasing. You will build calm, predictable revenue. And you are finally going to stop wondering if LinkedIn works or not. Because it will. It will. All right, that's it for this video, folks. If you want help dialing in your LinkedIn strategy, your profile, your content, your offer, the whole machine, you might want to check out my community and all of the trainings below, okay? So you can subscribe to my newsletter. That's for weekly insights on success and identity and quiet growth. That's going to be at natberman.com. Or you can join my community. That's where founders and creators are building calm, powerful brands. Okay, that's going to be at joinbrandbuilt.com. And finally, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I really don't know what to say at this point. See you in the next video.